Well, ecology is a wonderful metaphor we obviously use in looking at nature. And to think about a learning ecology, there's a couple of different ways that I think about it. One is the big change from closed classrooms to the open access on the internet. So as soon as you think of moving away from just that classroom where you know what the boundaries are to an open internet learning, where everything can flow in and out. So even within a classroom, you've got people who are starting to look things up on the internet, bring that into the classroom. You're beginning to get a permeable boundary in the class itself to the people who are learning perhaps through a MOOC where they're situated in a completely different ecology, like their work or their home, and they're going into the virtual classroom. And then you go to another stage and think about people learning by themselves on and through the internet and how they're just looking up resources and integrating those into their own personal learning environment, their learning ecology, but also how the boundaries are all, things flow across the boundaries. So I think it's got a lot of uses as a metaphor for how we're thinking about learning in the 21st century. I think the one thing is it starts getting you to think about things in different ways. And as I said, we've been very concentrated on that solid boundary of the classroom. And once you start thinking about the way things flow across boundaries, you start thinking about what it is that connects different environments. So there's a lot of work already in things, where I am, we call it experiential learning, where people go out into with the employers or the workplaces or other kinds of environment to find out what matters there in the real context, but also to get the experience of connecting with outside the classroom. So I think some of that, thinking about how to integrate the different ecologies, how to get somebody exposed to a workplace, perhaps a social setting, perhaps even a social work setting, the kind of way these work together to let you think about different aspects of learning, different experiences, and build that into a more versatile approach to learning. I think that's important. I think the other side, of course, is that if you think about the research side of it, lets you ask different questions about what's going on. I mean, you don't ask just about what people are learning in the classroom or how to make learning happen within the classroom, but you look at how people work across boundaries. Sort of how do people integrate knowledge across boundaries? How do you integrate experiences across boundaries? So I think it has a lot of potential, and really the way it lets you ask different kinds of questions. Yeah, so networks are, it depends what we mean by network. So there's often the term social networks often is used to refer to just the media like Twitter or Facebook and the social networking sites. Now, the perspective I come from talks about social networks as the connections between people and what it is that connects people. So if I take my perspective of the social network analysis perspective, what you're trying to do in networks then is connect yourself to people who have the resources that help you do what you want to do. But also by connecting to a person, you also you're connecting to all the people that they know. So it's a network of networks. And the more you can connect to people who have access to different networks of people and resources as well. We can think about people as the contacts are both the resources you consult as well as the people you consult as resources. So if you connect to a network of networks, so those people are connected to lots of other people, then you have a much wider range of people you're exposed to, ideas you're exposed to. So there's a concept of the strength of weak ties. So people you know a little bit but not a lot have access to different kinds of people you don't know so well. And that gives you access to more new information. Now the other side is the strong ties, people who are your friends, people who really are invested in what happens to you, and they're very committed to give you the information that they have, but because you're like them and you are traveling the same social circles as them, they don't have access to as much new and different information. But you need the two sides, because one side is going to help you get something done, the strong ties. They're going to help you, the resources to help you finish things up. And the weak ties are going to give you that new information, perhaps the access in order to distribute the idea somewhere else. So there's two different kinds of ways to think about the network ties. And now if we then add on to that the social networking sites, then you have to see whether they're supporting the strong or the weak ties and what kind of thing they support. So you might have an environment that supports finding out about one kind of information, perhaps an interest group around, well, let's say about learning ecologies. And so you talk to them to get that kind of knowledge, and you talk to a different group to get knowledge about, say, social network analysis. And then so you're bringing those in together. So again, you're making your network of networks of connections for knowledge.